He's a chartered accountant by profession and a global finance leader.
Whoever works with me, I leave a mark, a lasting impression on them.
What were some of those early lessons that, shaped how you now...
You become an enabler, basically.
Welcome back to the LoopLynks podcast, where we celebrate stories of leaders who didn't just build careers, but forged legacies. Today's conversation is with someone who has spent over 2 decades shaping the language of business, not through numbers alone, but through real meaning and impact. Mr. Saad Siddiqui. He's a chartered accountant by profession and a global finance leader. Saad's journey stretches from the boardrooms of London to the innovations hubs of Dubai. He's guided innumerable companies through transformation, mergers and acquisitions, IPO readiness, and scaling. But what really makes him stand out is how he's fused purpose and profit into one coherent story. At the Giving Movement, where he works today, he serves as the Chief Financial Officer. And Saad isn't just managing the books out there, he's helping completely redefine what ethical growth looks like in the modern world. So let's step into that story, the architecture of impact. Even today, it's very rare to hear about that kind of leader talk.
Oh man, this is not helpful. So this is make your life more difficult.
Saad, welcome to the LoopLynks podcast. It's wonderful to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Shaz. Thank you. Lovely to be here, and I was looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We love to recognize and celebrate leaders like yourself, sir. So my first question to you, sir, is what is the Giving Movement? I mean, it sounds philanthropic in nature, and but we don't have deep insight into it. So if you could just let us know, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I mean, that's a question which I very frequently get as well. As the name suggests, it's a giving movement. But it's at the end of the day, it's a commercial organization. But it was built on the foundations of the giving back to the community, and this is one of the core pillars of the organizational existence at the moment. So, I mean, it's a fashion brand. It's a omni-channel fashion retailer. It's an omni-channel where we operate both online and through our retail stores as well. We have several flagship stores across UAE, and we have other strategic partners across the GCC who operate on our behalf as well. But I mean, the Giving Movement, the idea behind the Giving Movement basically was that, we have organizations, we all have worked with the organizations, but I mean, we need to have that purpose, and something to, it's a feel good kind of a thing as well, that you feel good, building a business which equally contributes back to the community as well. So this is how it came to existence. So we are big on the sustainability, the philanthropy, and giving back to the community in whatever way we can. This is what the DNA of the organization is.
So I wanted to just start at the beginning, Saad, because people often assume that, finance per se is all about reports and forecasting and financial statements, annual financial statements. But you, in your questionnaire, have said something that really stood up. And it was just that, that you weren't drawn just to the numbers. You were drawn to the fact that finance could actually shape decisions, which could further inspire confidence in people. So can you take us back to that initial realization that you had? Was there a moment early on in your career where maybe it was at your work stint at EY, when you first saw finance could be a tool for leadership? So not just reporting, finance could actually lead into creating other leaders. Do you remember how that transition or how that psychology came out to be in you?
I mean, it's I would say that as every business, every function, every role is evolving, um, uh, so is finance. So if you go back in time and see how the finance functions were operating in organizations, I mean those legacy functions, legacy finance roles. I mean, there's a lot has changed. Uh, I would say to finance mandate, what finance leaders are expected to contribute in the business. It's not only your regular bookkeeping and accounting. I mean, no one expects from from a finance leader and finance functions that you just, I mean, keep the books, I mean, recorded, accurate, on time, all those things. Reporting is spot on. But I mean, the expectation has changed as well. So you have become an enabler for the business rather than a blocker. I mean, the finance functions, I would say the legacy finance, roles were too focused on, I mean, the micro operations of the organization in terms of financial operations. How accurately we're recording, whether certain things are exceeding the budget or not, and all those things. But I mean, the finance leaders are now expected to I mean, become partners and advisors to the business, where you are a core strategic advisor to the business, where any business decision, whether it's an expansion to a new market, whether it's vetting on a commercial viability, or due diligence for a certain growth initiatives. I mean, finance takes the a very, I mean, core, I mean, role in all of those decisions. You become an enabler basically. So I would say this has been, something which I was very closely observing growing up in my career and in finance profession. That what is the expectation now? What has been changing? What is the demand? What is the expectation in the market? Or the businesses basically from the finance leaders. So you take that active driving seat basically in enabling those decisions. Make I mean, you still have to do your financial due diligences. You need to still validate whether financially, commercially, or from a compliance point of view, for example, those decisions are I mean supporting your business growth. But at the same time, just being on that very kind of critical position in the organization, where you can see certain things and certify certain things, for example, which other functions in the organizations are not able to kind of see, for example. So I mean, this is not new, I would say. It's over the last decade. This role and expectation from finance and finance leaders has been changing as well. So you take that active driving seat, and you start becoming business partner and enabler for the organization to do the right thing, and ensure business stays profitable. You still scale the business, but sustainably and profitably, rather than those decisions where finance not used to be, I mean, involved in those meetings, for example, where the business is taking decision and finance is the last one to know, and at the time when you are just recording those bills. So I mean, this expectation has changed over the years, and I think this is, at least I'm not aware of any organization which is growing where finance is still sitting on the back seat.
Correct. I couldn't agree more. As a matter of fact, I was at a company called Oracle, and we were selling high-end software solutions, and we remember that it transitioned from just only the operations and the board of directors. And over a certain period, they started involving people from finance to be part of not only deciding whether this is a viable or affordable thing to buy, but through the entire life cycle of the decision-making process or even need identifying process. Finance professionals were part of the consulting as well. So I couldn't agree more, with what you're saying. And I just wanted to touch a little bit about your upbringing a lot here. You've mentioned that leadership is not only about control, it's also about enabling progress to happen. So back home, what were some of those early lessons that, shaped how you now lead teams and make decisions? I'm sure it all starts really early on in life.
I mean, yes. I mean, every leader is different. In the way they lead. Their roles basically, or they perform their duties. I see the leader is more. Of. An enabler. For others to progress. And I mean, it's again is those things that those. I mean, this expectation from the leaders is changing as well, right? So
Right.
you used to be a leader where you wanted to control everything, and you step into that fine line of micromanagement as a leader, but you will feel good that I know everything, I control everything. But I mean, those days are long gone as well. So as a leader, the expectation has changed as well. You need to be a leader so that you enable progress for the whole organization and your teams as well. So um, you give that power back to your teams. You trust them. You help them grow, help them progress. Not only in terms of their career progression, but I mean, you build that trust with the teams, and I think this goes a long way. I think, uh, and obviously, everyone has had different experiences. Um, I see that leadership is that you are not always looking for that credit. So you give that credit back to the deserving team who made this possible for you guys. So I mean, this is quite a lot. I think it's a big step, away from what it used to be considered a good leadership to what it is today. I mean, everyone is well aware that there's so many organizations, the globalization, you know how businesses are operating globally. And as a leader, you constantly learn as well. I mean, uh, uh, y- there are certain things comes from your experience, and then you keep, learning, constantly improving yourself as a leader as well. You need to be empathetic, and you need to be, an enabler. You build your teams, you progress. Enable their progress as well as, for organization. So, I mean, the expectations have changed massively, and if if we still act the same old way, I mean, it's going to be a very challenging position for any leader to continue in that way.
Correct, correct, absolutely. Uh, that's the whole theme of the LoopLynks thing, that you collaborate with your teams and you lead in a way where you involve everyone else. And I think it goes a long way, like you said, to inspire a lot of refreshed commitment from your team as opposed to them just performing a job function where they're just doing it, the 9 to 5 grind, as opposed to your kind of leadership where they make it their mission statement to really contribute over and above what normally is expected. And yes, that kind of leadership sure is phenomenal. I remember my first job experience was at a company called GE, which is General Electric, and that time there was a very famous chief executive officer. He's passed away since. His name was Mr. Jack Welch, and he used to say, "I don't care where the idea come from. It doesn't have to be a massive college graduate or a fancy degree. If it comes from the janitor, I'll take it and I'll reward the man for it. So, yes, I couldn't agree more on that kind of leadership. And that's very powerful because it's rare to, even today, it's very rare to hear about that kind of leader talk about, empathy more important, being more important as opposed to execution.
I mean,
And
it's a transition away from saying no to everything. I mean, I mean, I mean, those things where those times where you really want to, I mean, start controlling things, say no to things, just to satisfy your leadership status, I would say. But now, I mean, the expectation is changed, where you work with the teams, you enable their progress, you sit with them, and rather than saying no, you ask that, how do we do this? I mean, how do we do this in the right way? And celebrate their success. I mean, you empower them, you celebrate their success as well. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And it looks like, from your leadership style, these two things were really not ever separate for you. It's great to hear that. Lovely to hear that. Okay. Now, next question that I have listed here is about your transition from consulting to leadership. First time that you were not just advising from the outside, but you're actually making decisions that were affecting people's lives, operations. Basically, you were the heartbeat of the entire company. So, you've called that a defining shift in your career and your thinking. The moment you realize that transformation isn't just about systems; it's about stewarding the whole thing. What did that teach you about what a real leadership in this, postmodern, evolving world would look like?
I mean, yes, when I first transitioned from a consulting role to a in-house decision making position, for example, where you start seeing the impact of your decisions straight away, and the impact it is causing on individuals and your processes, the way organization is progressing. I mean, this is completely different to what you are supposed to be doing in consulting, for example. But I would say that it's a very complementary experience when you come from a consulting background, having worked with so many different projects with so many different organizations across different geographies. I mean, this gives you a breadth of experience, and you learn from those experiences and those organizations, how they operate. For me, I mean, it was a decision where I continue in consulting, or I start doing what I enjoy most, which is seeing the impact of my contributions, in the organization, compared to in consulting, for example. You deliver your work, you move on to a different project, but you're not really seeing the impact of your contributions, in a consulting role. Whereas, when you are working in an organization, so I think this is something which fuels which gives you more energy and more motivation to keep doing the work that you're doing, basically. So I mean, I mean, there's a lot of I mean, complementary aspects, from transitioning from a consulting to a business leadership role. But at the same time, these are two very different, I mean, journeys and experiences. So, I mean, I think, compared to those individuals who grew within one organization, or a few organizations, I mean, compared to that, I mean, consulting gives you more breadth of experience. You get to see the gold standard, what it looks like, not only in terms of your systems, processes, the way you work, but you learn from so many amazing individuals, along the way as well. And when you get this opportunity where you are taking that kind of seat where your decisions are shaping the organization processes and systems, and you have a direct impact on individuals. I mean, this is good, as well as, I mean, this is different, compared to consultancy, by a long shot.
Absolutely. You're actually driving the entire impact in your at every stage of it as opposed to consulting, and you see the end result. So I'm sure that's more fulfilling, more satisfying. Well, great to hear that. It looks like leadership for you, it actually grew out of accountability. Once you were actually looking at the impact that you were creating, and that perhaps changed the way you viewed finance itself. It evolved to a large extent. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct, actually. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, as I said, I mean, you observe and you learn, towards your as you progress in your career, as well. So, I mean, leadership is not something. I mean, you just learn in a day, uh, or the fact that you just got to a position, and automatically the leadership would come into you. I mean, there's a lot of mixed experiences throughout your journey. um, Certain things, when you are progressing in your career, certain things you get inspired with. There are certain things which you don't like at all, and you promise yourself that, when I am in that seat, I'm not gonna do that, right? So, I mean, this is a mix of things, and this is how it all shapes up. I think.
Was there some certain thing that in the top management that you said that, well, that's something I'm going to totally avoid? Is there something, and maybe an anecdote or something?
I mean, this happens. I mean, this happens. I mean, when you are, I mean, in early days of your career, professional career, for example, and you see your bosses who are really bossy, yeah, so control freaks, and you say to yourself that, oh man, this is not helping, so this is make your life more difficult. um or when you work with leaders, I've been very fortunate to work with some amazing people, but I'm just saying that in general you observe these things as well, that there are people who are leaders, or they call themselves leaders, but I mean, um they are not, I mean, they don't care about people too much. They just want to, I mean, get the job done, no matter what the cost is, what the impact on people. I mean, those things you learn, right, as you are growing up as well, professionally. And certain things, as I said, you just don't like it. You said, you say to yourself that, oh man, this is something, when if I am in that position, if or if I was him, I would never do that, right? So those things, I mean, that it stays with you. And when you have, when you get the opportunity to work with people, to inspire people, you try to do your best. I mean, there's still, it again, depends on your leadership style, how you would want to, act as a leader. But at least for me, this was very clear, since the very beginning, that, I need to, work with people, not, become a control freak, or I don't want to, I mean, control things. I want to empower people. I want to see their progress, and see their happy faces, that, they're enjoying their work. um I mean, that stayed with me, for, since forever. So, I mean, this is what I try to do on a day-to-day basis, that, whoever works with me, I leave a mark, a lasting impression on them, that even if I'm not part of the organization, they remember me. They give me, they show me as an example, that, this is how we would like our leaders to be. So, I mean, this is, you get this motivation, and this is an inspiration as well. So,
Absolutely. That's exactly we're trying to honor here and identifying people. people who actually, remember long after they're gone from the organization, maybe retired or something like that. But there is a flip side to it, slightly. I feel that when you're how would you say this, uh, involving people, try to come down and not be a boss per se, high up in the corporate ladder. Do you feel that people might just start taking you for granted and uh, they try and be a little slack about work? Have you experienced that? And if you have, how have you been able to get back on track, with them, understanding that at the end of the day, he's being nice to you, he's leading by example, he's being part of the general population, for the lack of a better word, but he's the boss. He's still the boss. He's still driving the whole thing. So, has anything of that sort ever happened? How did you transition back to being the boss?
It happens, and I very strongly believe that if you are insecure as an individual, as a leader, you would get this on your nerves, right? So you'll say that, oh, they're being so friendly with me, oh no, I'm the boss, it's not. So th- I see this in I see this differently. I'm not insecure, with my position, with my personality. um, and I don't mind, if my team is, wants to have a good time with me, right? So I do that. But at the same time, there are certain expectations, that you set up front, that uh, it is about, to the same point that, enabling success, right? So how do you enable it? You set accountability, you give them the ownership and power uh, to lead, and drive those decisions. So if they feel that burden on themselves, that I need to drive those decisions because at the end of the day I'm accountable. So that accountability setting and the expectation setting, this is very important. You can be very friendly with anyone, and I don't mind, and I really enjoy, working in a very friendly environment. But at the same time, my team, uh, wherever I have worked in a leadership position, my team knows that, this is at the end of the day, this is something that we have to deliver as a target. This accountability sits on me, and but at the same time, they are so relaxed that, you know anything I'm not able to deliver, I can easily reach out to Saad and ask for help, and I'll do anything possible to help them and support them and make this a success for them. So it there are those things where, um, you know um, I would say that no compromises, or once this is a target, for example, set for the teams, um, you cannot just let it pass. So you need to flag early in the process that, there are things which, we are seeing as a team that, we won't be able to hit those targets. And then my role comes into play as well, that, as a leader, I'll provide them all those resources, and systems, processes, whatever they want to hit those targets. And it's not only financial targets; it could be anything, any project within an organization. Um, and obviously, when you set this accountability framework up front, and you work towards it. This automatically sets that discipline in the organization and the hierarchies as well. That yes, this guy is very friendly, is very reachable, very approachable, is always willing to help. But at the same time, the this is a very clear expectation that I own this task or a project. I need to get this delivered. If I don't deliver it, we'll lose that trust with the guy. So this is a balancing act as a leader as well. You won't let your targets and deadlines slip. Um, but at the same time, you just make to you a true leader. For me, you need to make this all experience enjoyable. You need to feel good about coming to work rather than depressed, demotivated, and so burdened that, oh, I need to get this done, and I'm not getting any support, and my leader is not listening to me. So I mean, it's a very much a balancing act as a leader and to get things done as well.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And leadership, accountability, did that, it kind of goes hand in hand. And well, let's talk about your path in your transition from the UK to the Middle East, which was basically not only across industries but across cultures. So, was there a turning point that made you embrace the international life, not just as a as a career move, but as a part of who you are as a person? Uh, did you, there was a certain thought process behind it that you mulled over, and how did you, embrace this whole thing about moving across cultures?
I mean, the many factors. So I've uh, obviously, when I was working in the UK, I was still kind of working with cross border teams. In my consulting times, for example. So, and I worked in the Middle East as well in my previous life. So I mean, it wasn't too much of a difficult decision for me. Obviously, the way organizations operate due to regulatory landscapes, for example, different regulatory requirements, different ways how the whole. I mean, uh, the I mean the organization works in the Middle East, for example, and or in the UK, for example. They are those differences as well. I mean, this is where the decision is, whether you want to move and what is motivating you to move, from UK, for example. So, but I saw a huge potential in this market. So, um, UAE in particular, I would say that is at the forefront of shaping the future, not only for the region, but I think becoming a gold standard for the global organizations to kind of see and learn and adopt as well. I mean, this is the right time to be in the UAE, I would say, and broadly as a in the region as well. There's so much going on. I mean, you can, as a professional, benefit from the whole change. I mean, the changing landscape. How the organizations are shaping up, how they are adapting to the technology, how they're transforming their processes. I mean, there's a huge learning, and I'm really glad that I made the decision to move to this part of the world, especially in the UAE, because over the last 4 5 years, I've learned a lot. All that I learned over 2 decades of my experience, all came to practice. Right? So, I mean, there's so much going on. From the tax point of view, UAE being in a tax jurisdiction now, all that you learned, from those tax kind of landscapes, in your previous experiences, you get to implement those experiences here in real life. So I mean, there's a lot going on, and that, I mean, that was a big decision for me to deciding factor for me to move to this part of the world.
Okay. And when we talk about leadership, I mean, there is a distinct and marked shift in culture from England to the Arab Emirates. So, did you find it in any way challenging or difficult to be able to adjust to the culture and the way people respond to leadership out there? Was it different? Because there is a baseline, human factor to leadership. Everybody likes a supportive boss. But was there something distinct that you may have noticed and had some, challenge, or took some time to adapt to that? Was there anything of that sort?
I mean, it happens, So obviously when I was moving as well, there were those thoughts coming to your mind, that what would be the work culture be, what kind of work ethics, you would experience working in this part of the world. Would that be the same level of, productivity? Or the many things comes to mind. But the fact that because I've worked, over a very long time with very diverse teams, cross-functional teams across geographies, I very well, knew that, what kind of people I'm going to work with, for example. Um, this helped a lot. In settling down. People everywhere. Everyone. I've not met with any single person who worked for an organization and they don't want to work in everyone is trying to do their best. It's just that circumstances, for example, shapes their decision making later on. If they want to leave the organization, it's not only because of financial reasons. It could be that organizational culture is not supportive, for example, right? But if you get the basics right, it's the same formula everywhere. You support your teams. You enable a very progressive and workable environment for them. They would love to work with you wherever you are. This is a no-brainer to me, to be honest. So, those things or doubts. If you have those doubts, for example, before making your move, my advice to anyone would be that take the step. But the burden is on you. You need to uh, prove yourself as a good leader, rather than adopting yourself to something where people don't appreciate.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Regardless of the culture that you're probably in, no one likes a bossy boss. Everybody likes someone who is approachable, supportive, and collaborative in nature. I couldn't agree more. So, like you said, that is a no-brainer, regardless of the culture of the geographical region that you are working in. Now, if we fast forward to the giving movement, um, oh, the most fascinating thing that we noticed in studying your experience there is examples of purpose-led business in action. You said something about that pretty much flips the old norms and the narratives. That purpose is something that you balance profit against. In fact, purpose defines profit. So could you shed some light, or how does that translate? That belief into real time financial strategy today as the world evolves?
It's a very good question. Very interesting one as well. And I think this is something which it heavily depends on what the DNA of the organization is as well. So you can do your best to make an impact in your wider communities, for example, and all. But the organization you're working for is purely commercial. So they don't care about anything else. They just want to, generate cash, become profitable. Um, Compared to organizations which are who are built with a purpose behind it, with the likes of Giving Movement, for example. So it is in the DNA of the organization itself that whatever we are doing, we keep that in mind, that we need to contribute towards a broader purpose, rather than only focusing on the commercial aspects. Obviously, as a business, you have to focus on that. So there is no escaping away of that. You at the end of the day, you need to prove your numbers to your shareholders and to your boards, and you know you need to be a commercially successful business as well. At the same time, you need to do those balancing acts, that okay, I'm focusing on that, but what else I'm doing to just live to my purpose as well. It's a constantly it's a constant, I would say, challenge that comes back to us as well as leaders. That are we a same like anyone else, a very commercially focused organization, or we stick to our roots as well, we keep doing what is right, and it's making impact for the community. So I mean, yeah, I'm really glad that I made that decision to join TZM and the Giving Movement. I mean, I'm really enjoying my time here. It's something which giving me a satisfaction, a peaceful sleep. That whatever I'm doing, it's actually helping shaping lives of others as well.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. In fact, well, you mentioned that business is not just about raw profit. And I remember this certain quote by Henry Ford, who said, if money is the only thing your business makes, then it's poor business." So that kind of resonates with your vision perfectly. Now, I remember you mentioned restructuring your contribution margin model. And since I don't know all that much about finance, the first question that comes to me is, what is the contribution margin model? Could you help us with that?
I mean, basically, what it was referring to is, and that's purely on the commercial side of things. How do you look at a company's P&L? How do you see the business? How it is performing. So it's very important that as a finance leader, you are very well aware of how each and every aspect of the organization is impacting the books of the business as well. The true performance of the business. I mean, it wasn't only about the giving movement. It's for every organization, where if you want to grow sustainably, you need to know how healthier your margins are, how you are structuring your P&Ls, how you are valuing and evaluating the true profitability of the business. And then only you can make the right decisions. If you are keeping everyone in the dark, and this responsibility and burden is on finance, fortunately or unfortunately, that make this easier for everyone to understand the true unit economics of the business, as well as the true potential, what it can unlock. So if you don't have that understanding or clarity on the business, I mean, any decision you would make, that would not really result in those improvements what you expect those to turn around to. I mean, it's a whole dynamics of how each and every aspect of the organization hits your P&L, contributes to your healthier margins, and I mean, not that straightforward to, I mean, get as well. So I would not go into too much of detail, but I mean, this is all about the awareness of how your business truly performing, and then you use that as a benchmark, or a baseline, basically, to progress.
Right. It looks like you've turned that data or finance into something one would call a mirror, to understand that which parts of your brand are not just profitable in raw, money coming in, but it's really meaningful to society uh, as a whole. And that's something that professionals very rarely see. That's kind of like aligning art with math, for the lack of a better explanation. Well, you've led a lot of teams across continents, zones, and different cultures, and you often say that empathy transforms compliance into commitment. Would you have any specific anecdote where you saw that happening in reality? Because I agree with that completely. When you empathize with people, it's not just raw compliance. They get committed, and we've talked about this. So, is there any specific instance where you saw that happen?
I mean, I would not be able to recall any particular instance, but I mean, generally, this is what it happens. And you work with multicultural teams, and this is not about only the giving movement. Although we have a huge, diversity within the teams, and we make sure that everyone gets the equal opportunity to work with the business. Um, but I mean, it's a very general thing as well. It's a that when you are working in multicultural environments, um, you need to, respect them. Like, you respect individuals, you build that trust with individuals. They will only be able to work for you if you give them that space. You're not trying to impose your own ideology or the ways of work, or the cultural, background a leader would have, for example, on others. So you need to create that safe haven for everyone, space and room to operate freely, express themselves freely as well. Because it happens, and I've experienced that a lot. Uh, you There are people who are, obviously from different cultural backgrounds, and they're amazing in their thought process. They really add value, but just because they are a bit conscious that if I say, or voice in my, I voice my, uh, kind of uh, recommendations, for example, or whatever that is, in a meeting, people would think that I'll not be welcome, it will not be welcomed, and they'll keep to themselves, they'll hold back. But as a leader, when you enable that, and you give this confidence back to individuals and the teams, you'll see that it does wonders.
Yes, certainly, I agree that if you remove the fear of ridicule, that goes a long way, and that very normal people could come up with extremely revolutionary ideas.
Normally, you would see that, as a ratio, I've seen that, those people who are generally quite, sitting in the corners, they just come up with some amazing ideas, and very value add kind of recommendations, just because you gave them the opportunity to be free, and open to, in front of others. This is where the cultural values, comes into play in an organization. You allow uh, everyone to have the equal right to express their opinions, and as a leader, it's up to you. There are certain things you would think that, yeah, that would work, irrespective of where it is coming from, and you really support and back those ideas, irrespective of which team member proposed, put forward those. So it is something very important, and any organization is not doing that still in this day and time. They're missing out on big time.
Absolutely, that these things are like they're like game changers for organizations and their culture and their leadership style, definitely, and that's what we're trying to recognize in individuals here. So, Saad, I just want to ask you one final question. It's been wonderful talking. Uh, is there any specific virtue or a piece of advice that you would like to give to, younger professionals who are just coming up the corporate ladder, especially in the domain of finance, from an accomplished chief financial officer like yourself? Just one virtue that they could cultivate, which could go a long way in, advancing them, and then not only in their career, but in their way of leadership with people.
Yeah, it's a combination of factors, to be honest. It is the whole package, that you need to offer to be a successful leader. But I normally say this to young professionals early on in their career ladders. Especially in finance, that understand the numbers. That's given, but more importantly, what they mean. You need to really understand that. Finance, is a very much of a misconception that finance is just about reporting the number, what happened in the past. But I think it's very important to understand that it's about shaping decisions for the future. So you really need to know what what those numbers that you are accounting for really mean for the business and how they can unlock future potential for the business.
And it was great talking. What I really like about this conversation is talking about your legacy that you have created. I'm sure you've impacted a lot of people back in the UK, and you are currently impacting people in the Middle East. And that's basically the whole theme of LoopLynks in one sentence. So it was wonderful talking to you, Saad. Thank you so much. This is the reason, creating legacies, people with empathy, where people hear people who are normally unheard under different management styles. That's the whole idea, to identify leaders like yourself. And that's why, having you here, it's not only just important for us, it's absolutely imperative that we have leaders like yourselves coming in and sharing your experiences. Thank you so much for joining us today. And you have a wonderful evening, sir. It was wonderful having you today with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and have a great evening. But I mean, I really like the work that you guys are doing at LoopLynks. I mean, this is something which I'm really much looking forward to contributing in any way I can. So yeah, whenever you need anything from me, just reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that. You have a good evening, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.